You know what, Mets fans? I decided to show up today because the Metropolitans didn't. The season's already over. We don't even need to have a discussion here. It took the Mets their fifth game of the year to already conclude their 2023 campaign. So I don't even know why I'm sitting here talking. And obviously I'm joking only half-heartedly because I know we got Mets fans in here that truly do believe the season has just ended. This is the first of what's going to be many shows where we are just all over the place as the Mets got steamrolled today in their first game of a three-game set in Milwaukee by a final score of, we all guessed it, 10-0. I mean, the Mets waddled in there. I don't know if they were drinking too much pregame being in Milwaukee, but the Brewer crew literally made this team look drunk. It was pathetic. It was embarrassing. And I don't care that's the fifth game of the season. This was an absolute shit show. So by all means, I'm going to share my raw reactions to this game. I'll share a little bit of analysis on really what blew up in this game. What was wrong with Cookie Carrasco aside from him, again, being nothing more than a number 5 starter in a rotation today, at least for the Mets and some other teams. And what were the positives, if at all? Because there quite literally were little to none. When the Mets come out today and have 3 hits, and 2 of those 3 hits were from the same guy that pitched a scoreless inning today, what else there needs to be said? I mean, my goodness, my God, my gracious, this is going to be quite the discussion that we're about to have. I appreciate everyone for chiming in the live show. Thank you all so much for being in here. Yes, there is no Wardy's player of the game today. I'm sorry to break it, you guys, but not aside from Gourmet being the one-man show himself. I mean, don't get me wrong, him doing his best Ohtani impression definitely makes you think that, okay, he could be worthy of player of the game. But aside from that, no one's getting it for obvious reasons. I appreciate everyone being in here. Thank you all so much as always. Shout out to my OG followers, my members, my new followers as well. If you guys are watching this show for the first time, I apologize. This is a little bit more unorthodox. Normally I break down the innings 1 through 9, everything that transpired in the ball game, but I'm really just going to highlight innings like 3 to 5 and then slightly after that with what transpired because this game was over before we knew it. The Mets didn't have an off day. They won from Miami straight to Milwaukee today, facing Freddie Peralta, who's returning after dealing with injury for the entirety of last year. He came out, he absolutely shoved against the Mets, and the Mets did nothing. I mean, the offense to start the year hasn't looked great as is. Obviously, they've had some nice hits there in Miami, but when you look at advanced numbers, it's not off to a good start. They're ground ball merchants right now. They're struggling to lift the ball, and I know it's early, but again, all the flaws that we know with this Mets team are already on display. Obviously, it's not going to be to this magnitude for a vast majority of games. I would honestly be surprised if the Mets get blown out in this fashion again this season. They'll have blowouts, don't get me wrong, but I'd be surprised if we see consistent 10-0 blowouts. But from the pitching, that was horrendous from Carlos Carrasco to Tommy Hunter coming in a 2-on, no-out situation and just didn't have it today, to the offense doing nothing. I mean, this game was truly over before we even knew it. I'm just grateful that this was a day game, so I didn't have to potentially stay up late and deal with talking about this nonsense. And yeah, the only reason why I'm here is because I'm wanting to make a point today that I am going to step up to the plate and show up unlike this Mets team. Otherwise, I normally wouldn't be covering a game like this when we're just going to fall asleep on it. We're going to brush it aside and hope that the Mets bounce back tomorrow. And then we're going to be feeling good with the vibes again because that's the normal course of a 162. I see a lot of OG members in here. Steven, how you doing? Let's go through the list. Jeremy, how you doing? Going further, I know Darren's in here watching. John, how you doing? James, all you guys, my normal followers, new subscribers, previous subscribers, appreciate you guys all chiming in. But let's just start with the raw reactions, right? Surely we're going to have a rational response. The Mets getting their teeth absolutely kicked in today by a Milwaukee Brewers team that has been so desperate for offense that they literally just called up one of their top prospects, in which I'm trying to forget. I'm blanking on which prospect it was, honestly. I don't know if it was Terrain or if it was, I think it was Weimer, but no less Terrain. They both had good days, the two kids on the block there in, second. Yeah, it was Weimer. It was an outfielder. Yeah, he won 1 for 3 today. Terrain, who's a rookie second baseman there for the Brewers today, had an absolute game. He really blew this one wide open. But, I mean, this game, with this Brewers offense especially, that's what puzzles me. I know that Cookie isn't anything sharp. I know that his pitches were flat to the point where he started off the game, mid to low 90s on the fastball, touching 93. But just as we weren't even halfway through the game, this guy's already down to 88, 89 on the velo. We know that the Mets were managing him a certain length in spring training with some elbow situation going on there. And we all know that the Mets shopped Carrasco for the vast majority of the offseason because of the fact that they had enough depth, and if we didn't have the Verlander and the Quintana injuries, there's a strong chance that Cookie isn't even on this team right now. But that goes in hand with the Mets wanting to make sure they have as much pitching depth as possible, and Carrasco, I know he's certainly going to have better irons than what he did today, but I will not be shocked in the slightest if he is not in this rotation for the entirety of the year. I feel like it's almost inevitable unless Cookie really does bounce back and gets acclimated. Again, Carrasco isn't a terrible pitcher, but he's nothing more than a number 5. And if you do get more consistent production out of, say, a Tyler McGill, then that's a situation where it's like, okay, then you don't really need Cookie at that point. But again, I'm not going to say the Mets are going to go ahead and trade Carrasco. That'd be silly. For people that think that they should do that right now, I guess you're not aware with the Mets pitching depth right now, unless you want Dylan Bundy in this rotation right now, who was not going to produce anything better than Carrasco more than likely. And then I don't know what the thought process is there. So pitching depth is always important. Doesn't mean that it's always going to be quality depth. Today certainly wasn't quality from the veteran Carrasco, who again is a great guy, great personality, very similar to Eduardo Escobar. Love the vibes from Cookie, but he didn't show up today. Simple as that. Hopefully he bounces back in his next start, whoever that's going to be against. We'll talk about that when the time is right. But offensively today, guys, talk about a stinker. I mean, they were a no-show. There was nothing to be happy about if you're a Mets fan following this offense, aside from Luis Gourmet, who I actually was debating on putting in my thumbnail to start the game. I'll probably switch it after the game because Gourmet was the only highlight today. Had a couple base hits himself, and he was the only guy with 2 hits today. The only other guy that had a hit today was Daniel Vogelbach, who was out in that same play trying to leg a deep single into a double because he's not fast. And they had Weimer, the rookie, had a really strong arm and right and drilled him out to second with ease. There's no positives in this at all. Like, I don't know. If you're a Mets troll, if you're a Mets fan that loves to be pessimistic, if you're the Frank Flemings of the world, then you're having an effing field day. This is your time to shine from now until the start of tomorrow's game at 7:40 p.m. Eastern time. One thing that I do want to let all my live viewers know, and for people on replay, there is one positive that will be coming out of the day if you guys are of interest, and that is the following. I will be posting this either later today and certainly tomorrow on social media. I am giving away, drumroll please, I really would have liked to do this with a Mets win to announce this, but I'm going to do it now because I said I would. I'm giving away 2 home opener tickets for the Mets this Thursday, April 6th. Hopefully it doesn't get rained out because the weather doesn't look great. I will be in attendance, but I'm giving away 2 tickets to the Mets home opener to one lucky subscriber here on the channel. All you have to do to enter is just make sure you follow me on Twitter if you have Twitter, and make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. A winner will be randomly picked in the live stream tomorrow for tomorrow's post-game show with Mad Max on the bump in Game 2 of this 3-game set. So again, if you guys are planning at all to go to the home opener, then I'll see you there. But if not, this might be your chance to actually attend last minute. Of course, if you're in the area and you could do the drive to make that happen. So yes, giveaway. We will be doing this. Giveaway will be tomorrow's post-game show. I will be randomly picking someone in the live chat like I always do. I look away and I just click it on that person, and then from there, I'll have you guys reach out to me via email or over Twitter DM, and I will get those tickets your way. So again, just want to do a quick thing as a thank you for the endless support. Was in the privileged situation to be able to do this, so I was like, okay, why not, right? So hope you guys are looking forward to that. Again, one lucky winner will be picked tomorrow, so make sure you are chiming into tomorrow night's post-game show, win or lose, if you are in fact trying to become the winner of those 2 tickets for the home opener. But enough of that announcement. JV, thanks so much for the donation. Says, hi, Tyler. The 10-0 loss doesn't bother me as much as the 3-hitter. Yeah, I mean, again, it was a complete collapse. You got to give the Mets a pat on their back for doing absolutely nothing today universally. I mean, it's one thing to not do anything pitching-wise. It's another offensively. Because if this was a game where, say, the Mets lost, 10-7, 10-6. It's like, all right, at least the offense did show up to a degree. Pitching wasn't there. No, I mean, from the start, the Mets didn't have the pitching. Even Freddie Peralta was rattled early, was walking a couple guys through his first couple innings. Then he settled, and the Mets didn't know how to hit a lick against this guy, And this Brewers rotation has always been known for one of the better ones in baseball when their guys are healthy. And, oh, yeah, the Mets finished the series by facing Corbin Burns. So that's just great. So, yeah, offensively, the Mets were a shit show today. Pitching-wise, they were a shit show. And there's a couple couple things I want to get into. Hog, we're not doing that. Shout out to you, though. There was one person that asked a question that I do want to answer specifically, and then I'm going to just break down where this game truly went wrong. Brandon says, Wardy, I want your opinion seriously. Why do we expect a higher production from this lineup this season when quite literally it's the same lineup that lacks power just like last season? Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any different expectations for the Mets offense this year than I did last year. The only things that you could argue are still upgrades are the starting the year at DH with what they have over starting the first 20 games last year with Cano, and then the entire first half with Dom Smith and JD Davis, who all did nothing in that position, versus now having Vogie and Pham. Pham produced yesterday, so gotta give. I mean, the depth of this Mets lineup showed up big in the Marlins series. Today, everyone was a no-show though. I mean, Alonso has done very little, nothing. McNeil hasn't done too much yet. Lindor has been non-existent to start. The bats that are supposed to produce offense haven't done it, and naturally, yes, yesterday was great with Pham's production and Canna the day before, but that's only going to last you so long, right? So we're already seeing it get exposed. Again, it's not going to get exposed to this magnitude on a nightly basis. We're aware of that. But, I mean, as soon as it became a 10-0 game halfway through this one, the game was over. I mean, we all expect some fun rallies this year, don't get me wrong, but today was certainly not that day. Let's see. This game was over at 3-0. I mean, it was over as soon as he got the first run in hindsight. I mean, it's as simple as that. So let's talk about where this game truly became a shit show for all you lovely viewers watching live or on replay. And also make sure to smash that like and subscribe button if you're new or a recurring viewer. It really does mean a lot. Like I said, I'm normally not pessimistic or things nearly to this nature, but when it's a 10-0 loss and I'm deciding to cover it, you can't expect me to be out here and be, Mr. Optimist about everything. I want them to bounce back tomorrow. I expect them to, but today, there was nothing appealing. Just an absolutely terrible game from start to finish. Here's where things really start to begin. In the third inning, Terrain, the rookie second baseman, with a walk and a stolen base. Then with 2 outs, Jesse Winker, everyone's favorite non-Met. And a lot of people initially hated Winker, and then we found out that he loves the Mets fan base, and a lot of people wanted Winker on the team over the past year and a half, including myself in parts. He's looking for a bounce-back year now. Back in the NL Central this time with Milwaukee, not Cincinnati, and he's off to a hot start, including an opposite field RBI to bring the first run of the game. Then we get to the fourth with 2 outs. Might I add, 2 outs is where this starts to begin. Mitchell with a single, Anderson with a 2-run dead center ding-dong on Carlos Carrasco, Terrain with a single, and again, the velo was around 88, 89 mile per hour. He's just throwing absolute meatballs right down the pipe cookie, going from as high as 93 to then now as low as 88 on the fastball. Not looking good and not encouraging, obviously, to start the season for one of the Mets starters. But nothing else happens there. Mets are already down 3 runs as we head to the 5th inning. In the 5th, this is where the game took a turn for the worse. This is where the game was solidified. The Mets had quite literally no chance of coming back. Yelich with a walk and a stolen base. Winker with a walk, and that'll do her. Cookie has 2 guys come on, no outs. Buck wanted to give him a little bit more of a leash because, again, the Mets' pen was worked a little bit that we saw in Miami. Tommy Hunter comes in, and Tommy, again, in a situation that isn't beneficial to him to begin with, and it just spirals downward from there. Adames with an RBI single that was just out of the reach of Francisco Lindor there and short diving out. Tellez with a walk, bases loaded, no outs here for Tommy Hunter. You want to guess what happened? Here's what happened. Contreras with an RBI ground out, Mitchell with a walk, Anderson with an opposite field RBI single, and then Terrain said icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Grand Salami, 10-zip. That'll do her. That's ball game. Dennis Santana came in today for his 3rd Mets outing, had a clean inning, gave up 2 walks, but had a strikeout. Santana, I just hope he's not overworked early because I've really liked what I've seen from him thus far. If there's any positives on the pitching front, he was the lone one along with Luis Guillorme. And speaking of Luis Guillorme today, because as we get then to the 8th inning, Luis Guillorme comes in as your starter. Mark Canha shifts to third base. Jeff McNeil to shortstop. I mean, it's a clown show going on out there. But Guillorme does what no other pitcher was able to do today, and that was to, aside from Dennis Santana, I should say, had himself a clean inning, only surrendered 1 hit, a deep single to Rowdy Tellez, who is doing his best Hoagie Vogie impression. Normally that's a double for a lot of guys, but when you're the stature of Vogie and now Rowdy, who is the Vogie 2.0 here for Milwaukee. Since Milwaukee parted with Vogie, they replaced him with Rowdy. It's hilarious. The only difference is the height, but they are the same in so many ways. It's actually incredible. But he gets on there with a base knock, and that'll do it. I mean, Guillorme didn't have strikeouts, but 12 pitches, a scoreless eighth inning, and that's about it. I mean, for a Milwaukee team, again, that is not expected to have a good offense this year. And I'm not trying to sit here. I know we're going to have, the 5 Milwaukee Brewer fans come in and talk shit. By all means, enjoy it. This is your time. I'm happy for you. I really am. If there's one thing that I can say, and obviously I'm acting like a little bit of an ass because the Mets just got cooked. I'm not happy about it, right? So when you look at the Brewers team and what their offense is heading into the year, they didn't even have a home run entering the series. Of course, they hit 3 or 4 in this matchup against the Mets, because why wouldn't they? That's just inevitable, right? So for what this Brewers offense is, for what the Mets were facing pitching-wise, Freddie Peralta is very sharp, don't get me wrong, but Peralta that's still trying to get acclimated back from his serious injury last year, for them to not jump on him nearly enough when he was really struggling early with pitches to left-handed batters, which is kind of bizarre considering he's known for carving up lefties. Lefties have historically done terrible against him throughout his career, especially in 2021, where he had that true breakout year from walking in that rotation. They just couldn't get anything going. This offense was anemic from start to finish. Pitching-wise, it wasn't anything better. We're aware of that. So, the only reason why I'm talking about this game is because I want to give a little bit of show for you guys. We're certainly not going to be discussing every single blowout that happens this year for the Mets. I promise you that one. I like to show up to the plate a little bit like I am today, but I'm not going to do it every time. So just enjoy this for what it is. I know that this is therapeutic. So to some of you guys that really get beat up by the Mets and their losses, like today, for instance, even if it's only the 5th game of the season. And then I know that for my OGs or the new viewers that love to absolutely rag the Mets, no matter win or lose, this is your time to shine. So by all means, eat this up for the next 24 hours, because hopefully it only lasts 24 hours until, they get their next victory. Let's see. I love Mets fans. The Mets win. They're ecstatic. They win a 4-game series. Nothing but cheers. They lose the next game. It's trade Lindor. This offense sucks. Blah, blah, blah. There's nothing else like it. There is nothing else like it. And that's the funniest thing about this fan base. It used to bother me in the past with the live chat. Now I've just embraced it so much. I know exactly what fans to expect when we come in to a show like this. Even a tight loss, you're still going to have some people ragging, not to the same degree. I know what to expect for people that come in when it's a loss like this. I know what to expect from people when it's a big win, a blowout win especially. I mean, you win the World Series if the script is reversed today, the Mets win 10-0. I mean, just secure it. There's no need to even play any more games. They've already had their championship on the side. But in the case of being on the bad end of the blowout, here we are. I really hope Lindor doesn't resent to 2021. Lindor, he won't. I'm very confident in that. Just because Lindor isn't starting the year hot doesn't, 5 games. I mean, what are we doing here? Your last thing I'm going to do is complain about Lindor right now. He hasn't had good at-bats. I will admit to that, but at least he is doing his best efforts on the defensive end because he has saved at least 2 runs to start the year because of his defensive abilities, and that is a plus. It's different versus Eduardo Escobar, who, again, love Eddie, love everything about him, but Eddie now to start the season, for example, is batting a cool .063, didn't have an at-bat today, actually, because Guillorme was starting over him. Guillorme is 1 for 17 to start the year. Obviously not an ideal streak, but it's a little different with him. Escobar, that being, not Guillorme. My apologies. It's different when you have a kid that is destined for the MLB, nipping at the heels right away. Should have started the year on the team, and then he's just waiting. That's why I will be surprised if the Mets don't bring Beatty up in the next month or so. But having said that, I was equally as surprised, if not more surprised, to not even see Beatty on this roster to start the 2023 season, when I had the utmost confidence heading into spring prior to him even having an at-bat in spring. I knew the type of work that he was putting in spring with not only his offense, but his defense, especially worked heavily on with Troy Tulowitzki. They did a great job. Even worked with Platinum Glover, Matt Chapman, and a couple other Toronto Blue Jays. He did also work with Bo Bichette, but we're going to ignore that because Bo is good for everything but defense. Blue Jays fans, you know. That's why he's a second baseman, right? Soon to be, rather. But yeah, point stands is Escobar, Beatty's a different situation than talking about other guys where that they're going to get out of these funks, versus Eddie is a really interesting question mark for me. It's funny that we're talking about him on a day that he didn't play, but he is a big question mark for me, considering that he provided such little production for the vast majority of the 2022 season. And that September quite literally saved his Mets tenure. I promise you, if he did not perform to that ability that he did in September, single-handedly carrying the Mets in a lot of ways heading into the wild card round, that he wouldn't be on this roster. I can almost promise you that, because he was absolutely atrocious for the vast majority of last year, and I do not see a world where the Mets give him enough of a leash to go more than a month straight of being absolute cheeks. Not that I wished on him. I hope he proves me wrong, but so far not so good. That's a situation where I would genuinely be shocked, once again, if the Mets do not bring up Beatty by then. But again, this is nothing personal with Escobar, nor is this personal with a lot of players that just didn't perform today at all. I mean, just the DH position alone hasn't done much production for the first 5 games. Where have we heard that before, right? That's another thing to watch, because how the Mets will need to go about this is internally first, and then hopefully they give those internal guys enough of a leash, and if that doesn't work, then that's where you go to your last resort of making proper trades and actually not sleeping on the trade deadline this year when we get far down that road. Not harping on that now. We have so many months to talk about that and debate that. But like Vientos, for example, how long is it going to take for him to potentially be caught up in that DH spot, assuming it would be Vientos and say not Mauricio, who I could also see having a shot at cracking this Mets team. And Alvarez, they're developing him in that catching role, so I'm not really considering for him DH yet. But that's something down the road that we can talk about when the time is fit. So, I mean, yeah, offensively as a whole, this team was cheeks. Gourmet was the only guy to step up, 2 for 4 today. Daniel Vogelbach 1 for 3, even though he didn't even stay on base. What more needs to be said? Not much. Really not much. I'm going to get out of here in the next couple minutes because I want to enjoy the rest of my day and get ready. Again, guys, final update is tomorrow will likely be the start of an awesome sponsor on the channel that I'm excited to share with you all. So stay tuned for that. It's really, really awesome stuff and exciting stuff. I'm excited to share it with you. Along with that, however, will be our normal post-game show, and we will be doing a giveaway for 2 Mets tickets to the Mets home opener this Thursday to one random person in the live chat that is a subscriber and has followed me on Twitter. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit all those buttons, all that great stuff. And until then, love you guys all to death. Really, really appreciate your endless support. I'm going to get out of here now because, you know, I showed up for 20 minutes. That's more than what the Mets did today. So I'm going to get out of here. Have a great rest of your night, day, evening, folks. Don't beat yourself up too much. I know, especially you younger Mets fans. I feel it a lot. Trust me, I'm not the same that I used to be from when I was in my teens, but there will be days where if the Mets got blown out like this, like it ruined my entire day. It sucks, but I've maturing a little bit to get over it fast as long as they step up to the plate the next day. But yeah, to my younger fans, especially that beat yourself up, whatever pitch that you see the Mets take or give up, whatever it is, you know, it's going to be okay. We'll see how they do tomorrow. Until then,